Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, July 24th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in the 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is Star in its reversal. What is going on here, my friends? So this will have a bit of a different feeling depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. One of the things that we are seeing coming to the surface potentially right now for the feminine energy are some feelings of uncertainty in terms of being your most full, authentic expression of self. This could be, again, some of that abandonment wound that we saw triggered yesterday, feeling some of those emotionalities that was requiring you to really focus on the self and not want to go back to situations and circumstances that may have been causing the harm in the first place. But we do see here that there are some struggles for the feminine energy in terms of feeling like they're able to achieve that ability of being your most authentic expression of self. This could be tangible situations in your own reality right now that are causing these setbacks or these hurdles that are making you kind of question yourself and your own ability at this moment. Or similarly, this could be a lot of internal effort that you're currently experiencing right now as you work through some feelings of authenticity, potentially even feeling triggered around past situations or circumstances that made you feel like it was not safe to be vulnerable. Feminine energy is putting a lot of energy into navigating this terrain today. For masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like a bit of a separation from the feminine energy at this point, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For the masculine energy that is in union right now, this could potentially be working with a feminine energy that is experiencing some of these doubts and these fears and these setbacks, working in alignment with them to try to bring them back into their upright. While for the masculine energy right now, that is coming through, that is not in connection right now, this is that moment that we are really orienting on the fact that you yourself are potentially feeling some point of separation from a feminine energy that is being held at a bit of a distance. We will recall, if you were watching yesterday, you can catch the daily collective read from yesterday on my YouTube channel, that we identified the fact that for a lot of the masculine energy yesterday, this was either working with a feminine energy that was holding strong boundaries as they were going through something emotional, or that there was a feminine that was putting a lot of strong walls up towards you right now. This could be feeling some point of frustration for the masculine energy around some of that feminine energy that you feel is at a distance, or something is preventing or blocking you from being able to be in contact with that connection right now. That is also something that you're potentially working through at this moment. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card we have coming through right now in our 5-card spread is, we have here our queen. We were just talking about you. Thank you for showing up to the party. So what are we really seeing here right now? For again, why is the feminine energy in this point right now that's creating a point that makes it hard for the feminine energy to be vulnerable right now? Well, the reason the feminine energy is having a difficulty being vulnerable right now is because the feminine energy feels like there is some situations and circumstances that have to put them on the bit of the defense. This is feminine energy working a lot in terms of maintaining and holding strong, healthy boundaries as they proceed forward from this point. What we're really identifying here for a lot of the collective is this is a moment that you are identifying and articulating, particularly for the feminine energy right now, where it's not necessarily a factor of sense of self, but you're feeling challenged in being able to do that right now because you have to stand and hold with this very strong point right now. It's like your strength is effectively making it hard for you to be vulnerable at this point, but it's also because you're in a space right now that is requiring you to have your your war paint on to a certain extent. But we do like this because what we're really seeing here is this is not feminine energy falling into a moment of anxiety or disrepair as it relates to their own sense of self right now. Rather, what we're really seeing is this is a feminine energy that's working in a space of being very, very guarded. Being very, very guarded as it relates to whom and to where and to how they truly express themselves, recognizing and feeling either triggered from past experiences that have made them question or doubt their own ability to be vulnerable in safe spaces, or simultaneously feeling like there are some areas right now that they have to be working very carefully and strategically around in order to ensure that it is safe for them to be able to be vulnerable and expressive in the way that they would ultimately desire at this time. While for masculine energy, what we're really identifying right now is this is you kind of seeing this in the feminine energy. I will point this out. This is an absolute continuation for what we saw in the daily collective read yesterday, because what we're really identifying for the masculine energy, it is not just the fact that you're recognizing that there is a feminine energy that is at a bit of a distance from you. This is the masculine energy, especially if you're not in union right now, starting to like come to terms and understand why this feminine energy may be feeling like they are at a bit of a distance. This is getting to the bottom of it. It's getting to the heart of it. It's seeing the reason why and recognizing that this isn't necessarily a situation or circumstance with a feminine that is not willing to be vulnerable, to be open towards you to a certain extent. This is a feminine energy that is effectively questioning whether it is safe to do so, back on being authentic and vulnerable self towards you right now, because they feel that there is something here that they might not necessarily feel like it is safe to do so. For masculine energy, again, this is either working in union right now with the feminine energy that is showing this kind of capacity or strength under fire, if you will, being able to like rise to the challenge of situations or circumstances that are making them feel very vulnerable, but instead of kind of collapsing under the weight of that vulnerability, what we're really identifying the masculine energy in union is seeing in their feminine energy is an ability to manage and maintain under points of pressure, even when their own vulnerability and authenticity is feeling challenged, or they're feeling that weight of it. So for masculine energy, this could be getting a lot of that supportive energy from a feminine you are equally experiencing and recognizing is going through their own personal challenges at this time. This is a sword basically being like put to your own power, put to your own direction at this moment. Or if you are not in connection with feminine right now, this could be a moment that you are recognizing the strength of a feminine and recognizing that some of the distance that the feminine is holding away from you right now is because their guard is up, is because they potentially have some reasons or circumstances that they are hiding or utilizing this to kind of stay at a distance from you. These are either situations from the past that they currently experience that they're feeling triggered about that are now rising up to have them have their guard up in this way, or there's something that you have done that has effectively caused this circumstance or situation wherein they feel like they might not necessarily be able to be their most full authentic expression of self towards you right now. And it needs to be addressed because now you've got kind of the battle armor on, if you will. You got that shield this moment. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Center card for today's spread is Magician. We like to see these cards are positive. Feminine and masculine energy. There is this moment right now of trying to move in alignment. We've been seeing this card coming up. We got it in our card of the day just a few days ago. This is about making sure things can work in the most effective way possible right now. For feminine and masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine energy's got some stuff that she needs to do. Feminine energy is not in a space where she is looking to play games. Feminine energy is trying to move herself forward. She's trying to actualize her own future at this point. Feminine energy is in a point right now where they are very willing to be vulnerable, but only in the right places, only where it is safe to do so. Feminine energy is trying to carve out those spaces and places where they are identifying that they can be vulnerable, that they can be authentic. But as I said, I use the word carved out for a reason. Feminine energy is doing a lot of work right now to identify the spaces and places that they feel that they can be their most authentic, vulnerable expression of their self, but not just to do so, but to feel safe in that environment. And they're putting a lot of energy right now into determining or carving out right now in whatever capacity this is happening right now. But we do see that this is a bit of a challenge moment for feminine because it is requiring the feminine energy to have to pull on a reserve of strength that they might not necessarily even be feeling, because they are feeling a little doubt around themselves and their own ability to do so. But feminine is really doubling down, if you will, on their own trust in their capacity. And this is what we love so much about the feminine energy right now. Feminine energy is saying, even though I don't feel it, doesn't mean I can't do it. Even though I might not feel it today, doesn't mean I can't do it. Because feminine is taking away from themselves that moment of doubt, that moment of fear. And they're saying they're trusting in their own capability to turn things around, to move things in the direction that they want them to move in, through hell or high water, if you will, with the force of this Queen of Swords energy coming into play right now. And this is helping them to a certain degree nurture and protect some of these areas right now that they are feeling that doubt and the fear and the anxiety. For the masculine energy that is working in union right now for feminine energy, this is a unified effort that you're going through right now. You are recognizing right now your own power to manifest. You are working to manifest things for yourself right now with the support of a strong feminine energy that is basically lending you their sword at this moment, even while you may be experiencing and expressing the fact that feminine energy is going through some internal setbacks or some internal hurdles on their own right now. In a way, the feminine's energy or ability to move through something that is difficult for them to navigate but still do it with a lot of strength and conviction is further enabling the masculine energy in union right now to feel like they can move forward in terms of the things that they desire, in terms of manifesting what they are trying to manifest at this moment. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, could be a bit more of a challenge space, because what we're really seeing right now is for the masculine energy that's not in union, this could be a moment that, again, there is potentially a feminine energy that you recognize is now at a distance from you, has held themselves away from you to a certain extent, has very strong boundaries up. They're not necessarily saying you can't come in, but they're definitely being a lot more cautious about whether you can approach. And you're trying to navigate potentially how you can come back towards this feminine energy. You're trying to navigate what you need to create for yourself at this moment, feeling some degree or capacity potentially around this feminine that is either preventing you from being able to come towards them, or that you're trying to show them. You're trying to show them in some way that this is an area and space that they can be trusted. The energy that is trying to work to get in union right now with the feminine energy that they're not in connection with, that has these boundaries up. What's the masculine energy doing? What's the magician good at? What's the magician good at? The magician's good at change. The magician is good at change, my friends. So what is the masculine energy saying to the feminine energy that is recognizing that has the boundaries up? There's a capacity and ability to change. That is what the masculine energy is trying to prove to the feminine energy. They're trying to show it. They're trying to tell them that there is this capacity and ability to change around these dynamics right now, hence allowing for the feminine energy to come forward in this way. For the other part of the feminine collective right now, for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this could effectively just be a moment where you're not even effectively trying to show that towards the feminine energy. You may just be trying to do this change within yourself right now. You might not necessarily even be doing this right now towards the feminine energy. You might just be allowing this energy of change right now for yourself if you're in a space where you're feeling like there is too much of a boundary here. Continuing to get clarification, but we like this because for all energies, there is an understanding. Even for the masculine energy right now, I need to point out that isn't necessarily moving towards the feminine energy. They're still changing. There was still a reaction point. There's something that they're working to change right now in their own life, recognizing that it led to a circumstance or situation with the feminine that now has boundaries and it isn't accessible to them. The change is happening for both masculine and feminine energy right now with that magician card in its center position. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is why? How do you change? How and why do you change? What is this change that we're seeing here? Walking away. We like to see this. Walking away from anything that isn't serving you, walking away from anything that is feeling like is creating too much of a blockage. This isn't, I need to stress, one of the things we love to see about this is we always get this damn card in its reversal. We always get this bad boy in its reversal. No, we don't see that here today. What is the change? What is the change? The change is the ability to walk away from anything that does not serve you right now. For masculine and feminine energy, there is an implicit desire to move away from what doesn't serve you. The big question is whether there is a recognition, whether this is an internal process that is happening right now in walking away from either internal things, self-limiting beliefs, self-limiting practices, unhealthy coping mechanisms. Whether this is a moment that you are utilizing this as an internal departure point right now to affect the change that you need around the situations and circumstances that are creating blockages at this moment, or If this is a moment that you are utilizing to move away from situations and people that you feel are limiting you in this same capacity as well. Regardless of which, we see that that energy here of change is very much at play. But change for the best reason possible, moving away from anything that does not feel like it is serving you on your path, but is only acting as a blocker at this moment. So a lot of energized energy, like movement here for both masculine and feminine energy, regardless of whether you are in union right now. Now, in terms of feminine energy right now, what is really beautiful about this? Feminine energy, a lot of this work, we talked about this a lot yesterday as it relates to the masculine and feminine energies path right now. Feminine energy is utilizing a great deal of this movement right now in holding to their own boundaries at this time. You will recall, if you watched the daily collective read yesterday, that there was a intentional action that was being required around the feminine energy, not going back to situations or circumstances that created the source of the pain, that triggered the abandonment wound, that caused the source and degree of hurt and pain for themselves at this moment. Feminine energy is not allowing themselves to go back to situations and circumstances that have only shown to some degree or extent that they are not effectively helping to empower them, but is only putting them in a place of deeper hurt and pain. Feminine energy for a lot of this right now, this is an internal working that you're doing right now, changing a lot of your own internal practices at this moment, walking away from the situations, the people, the places that don't serve you, as you come into your own ability to manifest what it is that you're trying to create, putting your focus on what it is you're trying to create at this moment. But it's requiring you to hold these boundaries. The boundaries the feminine is holding around themselves is to themselves right now, recognizing that there is a desire to be able to be your vulnerable, authentic expression of self, but being a lot more custodial as to whom and to how and to where you allow that energy to have access to you. That is what we're seeing a lot for the feminine energy right now. For the masculine energy that is working in union with feminine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are also doing a lot of this work. You are moving away from situations and circumstances that are not serving you, working, again, a lot of concentration on your own ability to manifest at this moment, having a lot of outside support from a feminine energy that you are seeing is able to maintain and manage kind of a grace under fire, if you will, as they themselves work through some situations or scenarios that are not necessarily putting them in a feeling like their absolute confidence at this point. But the masculine energy that's in union right now is driving and deriving that additional support, that additional energy, just from witnessing the ability and capacity of a feminine energy to operate with that same level of strength. And in that way, it is empowering them to manifest their own reality going forward and move away from anything that isn't effectively serving them. Hence, when we see the divine union path here. Now, for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union, this is feminine energy making that commitment to themselves. For feminine energy that's both in union and out of union right now, this is that commitment to maintaining your own healthy boundaries and walking away from anything that isn't serving you, even at a moment that you are feeling less than confident about your own ability to feel authentic and safe and vulnerable as you work to manifest potentially in your own direction right now, or with the manifestation union of a masculine energy. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, this is a moment that you yourself are either working right now to manifest, to be able to show a feminine energy that is in some capacity and degree now holding some barriers towards you, has these walls up, don't necessarily feel like they can be their most safe, vulnerable, authentic expression of self. You're trying to show this commitment and ability to change. What is this commitment and ability to change around? Walking away from situations and circumstances that no longer serve you. There may need to be some kind of proof or evidence that the feminine needs right now to be able to show in some capacity for the masculine that's not in union that you have this ability, to walk away from something that isn't serving you, to be able to show them that they have this space and place that they can be vulnerable towards you at this moment. While for the other part of the masculine energy right now, this could be a moment that you're having a very deep, difficult lesson that is occurring, because what we're really seeing right now is there's potentially a feminine energy that you are experiencing has this wall up. And this is an impenetrable wall at this point that you're recognizing here to a certain degree, that you may feel like there isn't an ability to come back towards this energy, because you recognize that to a certain degree, this feminine energy isn't going to shed that point of resistance towards you. But there's a reason for that, because that feminine energy did not feel like they could be their most authentic expression of self around you. And this is that moment that you are committing to these changes for yourself at this moment, that this is an internal commitment or promise that you're making to yourself to change as you move away from the energy that you now realize is now become more of a lesson, because you no longer have access or availability towards that energy being vulnerable expression of itself towards you at this time. Final card for today's spread, fifth card in our reading before we start getting clarification on what we are seeing here. We love this. This is beautiful. We've got Eight of Wands energy here. Eight of Wands energy coming to the surface, because what we like to see about this is that action and movement is happening. We saw this yesterday with that Two of Wands in combination with our Nine of Pentacles. This is a day of seeing that movement, seeing that action, making those plans, putting them into place. Masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You're not letting this be a moment of sitting with any kind of grief or loss. You are utilizing right now your own sentiment as a point of activation, particularly for the feminine, I need to add, because the feminine energy here, we have to say, is in a moment where they're feeling, it's not the fact that the feminine energy isn't feeling some point of doubts and fears rising to the surface right now, these points of anxiety that are coming through. We just see feminine just powering through it. Just powering through it, doing what feminine energy does best, taking that pain, taking that difficulty, alchemizing it, changing it, using it as a point of strength. Not letting themselves kind of fall at the wayside of it. Feminine energy is doing a lot of work to continue to push through even at this moment that they're experiencing this, walking away from the things that aren't serving them in the direction of the places and spaces that they see this ability, this fast movement. One of the reasons the feminine energy is doing this right now is because, to a certain extent, for the feminine energy, paths are becoming open and clear, that there are clear paths that are opening around this feminine energy, so long as they maintain their healthy boundaries, as long as they stick to their guns, as long as they maintain their boundaries, as long as they continue to work on what they're trying to work on, despite any internal or external setbacks that start to shake their own ability or fears in themselves, they see there's progress that's actively occurring, and they're moving in the direction of it, both in relationships right now, both professionally, both in communication, on all aspects. Now, for the masculine energy that is working right now in union right now with feminine energy that is maintaining this degree or capacity, what we're really seeing with the masculine right now is you're getting kind of this like burst of energy right now from a feminine energy that you are recognizing is going through some difficult hurdles right now, but is able to maintain their own grace. They're able to maintain their own strength, even at a moment that they are feeling less than themselves and they're feeling less than confident. And you are effectively drawing support right now from a feminine energy that you identify has this capacity and degree right now. It's helping energize you right now to manifest through your own challenges, walking away from anything you feel that it doesn't serve you at this time, as you move in collaboration with that strong feminine energy in the direction of the places and spaces that you feel are offering the most opportunity, or are offering the most communication, are building this like ability to move forward at this time. Now, for the masculine energy that is not in union, this is one of two different pathways that we're seeing. Because on one hand, masculine energy, you could be in a moment right now that you are working towards trying to rebuild something with a feminine energy that is not available to you to a certain extent, that has these walls up to a certain degree. You're recognizing that this person or this energy has their walls up, but for good reason, because something about this feminine energy here does not feel like they can be their most authentic expression of self around you. And this is something that you are working to manifest that point of change in, and you're trying to show, you recognize to a certain extent that you need to show in some way that there is something here that you need to commit to some change to allow this access point, to allow this energy to feel like they can effectively let you kind of come back towards them right now in this capacity. And at the same time, we are identifying right now that for that masculine energy, that change needs to come through two purposes. The ability to show to a certain degree that you've walked away from either a practice or walked away from a certain way of being that has created this like point or this problem area or this blockage exchange point between you and this other energy. And that is through, what is it you have to walk away from? Clear, consistent communication and planning. An ability to communicate, an ability to be clear in terms of what it is that you want, in terms of what it is you're trying to grow. Being able to show that you're able to walk away, potentially that a lot of this masculine energy is actually trying to show the fact that they can walk away from like not communicating. They can walk away from like building these like moments that create some of these setbacks through a lot of communication. But we're seeing here for the masculine energy that's trying to do this right now, this is going to require lots of explanation. We're going to require a lot of communication in order to really effectively prove that you've made this point of change. It's going to allow this energy to open themselves up towards you again. For the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is a moment that, again, this is like a hard life lesson that you're potentially experiencing right now, because you're seeing to some way, shape, or form that you kind of recognize that you doubt that the path towards this feminine energy here is going to be available to you at this point. That there's something here where now it's like you kind of recognize that even potentially towards like whatever you're trying to manifest around them, like this wall isn't effectively coming down because they feel like they can't be their most authentic expression of self around you at this point. And that's that point right now. Again, you yourself are moving forward. You're not letting this effectively block you right now, but instead moving in the direction of active communication in like every other direction to try to find a new point of direction away from this energy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Star in its reversal and our Queen of Swords energy. Tricky day for feminine. It's tricky. It's a tricky energy. This is coming through a force of empowerment through feminine's own feelings of doubt and insecurity. This is coming through a feminine energy that's like kind of like saying like, I am going to be strong regardless of how I'm internally feeling at this moment. But this is really also very beautiful energy that we like to see for the feminine, because what we're really identifying is this is feminine also kind of pulling in that internal reserve to help them through and navigate some spaces or places where they're not feeling like they can be their most authentic expression of self. Feminine's working through it is what we really see. even the ones, everybody, like either side, like feminine's like, I'm going through some stuff, but we're working through it. For the masculine energy right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, this is recognizing and seeing this capability in the feminine energy that's around you or that has your focus right now. Seeing a feminine energy that is showing some points of vulnerability or doubt or fear, but not necessarily accessible to you in the way that you would ideally desire at this point, because we see here that this feminine energy is holding through with a lot of strong boundaries. If you are in union right now, this is potentially something that you are drawing a lot of strength from, because you're identifying the fact that this is a feminine energy that while they are going through some moments of vulnerability right now, they're still sticking to what they need to do. They're still showing that commitment to their own practice, to their own work, that is empowering you at this moment. For the energy of masculine that is not in union with feminine right now, you are seeing the ability of a feminine that is holding these boundaries. And this is either, again, serving to you as a moment of respect and appreciation, or it's literally the problem. That the feminine energy, that it is the problem, because that is the point that you cannot necessarily access this feminine energy because of their strong, healthy boundaries. Can I please get a card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with time is on your side. 7 of Pentacles. For masculine and feminine energy, I think that this is one of the things that we really identify right now. Feminine energy, how is feminine energy pulling through this point of support right now? How is feminine energy moving or navigating this moment that is making them or causing them to feel very vulnerable? That is, they're also drawing a lot of strength from. Feminine energy is putting their time and energy into what they're committed to growing and building at this moment. Feminine energy is not, this is what's really beautiful about the feminine energy that's going through these experiences right now. Feminine energy is not taking the time to feel sorry for themselves around the situations or circumstances that have them experiencing any feelings of doubt or vulnerability or setback at this time. Feminine energy is throwing their full energy and support into an attention on what it is they're trying to grow at this time. what it is that is important to them, what it is that they need to take care of at this moment. A lot of strong maternal energy coming through right now on this feminine. This is like strong feminine, this is strong feminine mother energy here, because feminine energy is not letting these moments of a lack of their own security block them from doing the things that they need to do, taking care of the things that they need to take care of, because they know where their priorities are. Which again, for the feminine energy that's going through this right now, this is helping you feel that point of empowerment, even through something that feels like a bit of a hurdle or obstacle that you're currently experiencing. While for the masculine energy, this is a moment that you're falling in one of two scenarios right now. Again, for the masculine energy that's in union, this is the admirable quality that you're seeing in your partnership at this moment that is helping empower you, because you're recognizing that this is a feminine energy that can move through even at a moment that they themselves are experiencing some kind of difficult setback or hurdle. And this is also allowing you this deepened commitment and joint movement right now into protecting and growing what it is that you're trying to protect and grow between yourselves at this moment. While for the masculine energy that is not in union, this is either falling in one of two different spots. This is either seeing right now a feminine energy that is not necessarily available or completely open and vulnerable for you around you at this time. They've got some boundaries up. They got some boundaries up, but you recognize fully, you completely understand why this energy may have their boundaries up. And this is either a point of respect and appreciation that you're seeing with this energy that is giving you a commitment to continue to pour time and effort and energy into trying to have that energy come into a point of trust with you at this time, because you recognize that this is a quality through which you can continue to grow at this time. While for the other part of the masculine collective, this is a moment that is potentially feeling like potentially a moment that is too much of a point of easement, because again, we have pointed out that for some of the masculine energy that there's something here that you need to effectively prove or change or work through with this feminine energy to show that there is a capability and ability for you to do these things, that there is this requirement or change that needs to happen. And this is you putting that time and attention into recognizing that this is going to be a slow process. That walking through this feminine energy, having their guard come down around you, is going to be a slow process, but one that you are committed to fully in terms of as you go forward from this point. For the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is that hard life lesson that we're seeing. This is that hard life lesson that we're potentially seeing. You're recognizing that there's something here, that there's a feminine that is now effectively cut off from you, because you see the fact that they don't feel like they can be their most authentic expression of self. And you're taking this time right now to move away from anything you feel is a blockage, pouring your time and attention into what you're trying to grow moving forward from this point. Continuing to try to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Swords in combination with our Magician card. Love these two cards in combination together, because what we're really seeing right now is a feminine energy that is standing in their strength. They are standing in their confidence. They are working through even their own doubts and fears right now to continue to work to manifest what it is that they're trying to manifest for themselves at this moment. While for masculine, if you are in union right now, this is you trying to do this work for yourself with the support of a strong feminine energy that is lending you as much support as they can to further empower you as you continue to manifest in this direction. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now that's not in union, this is either going to feel like this is a moment that you are trying to show a feminine energy that has their walls up, that you have some ability to change or make accommodations that need to be made so that the feminine feels less defensive around you. Or this is a moment that you are recognizing that there is a wall here around the feminine and you're just concentrating on creating something for yourself at this moment, having to learn the lesson of this experience as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming right now with Lovers in its reversal. This is okay. This is okay. This is okay. Because what we're really seeing here is this is a point of correction that is coming through right now for both masculine and feminine energy. Because what we're really identifying right now at this point is there is this moment that we are recognizing that is happening right now for masculine and feminine. That is a point of correction. For feminine and masculine energy right now, what we're really seeing is for the masculine and feminine energy that are effectively working right now in union, in partnership. This is a lot of attention right now in both working on addressing any imbalances in your own partnership at this moment, and also with a lot of care and attention and putting a lot of care and attention into any partnership energy that you feel is attached or connected to the partnership itself that needs some point of amending or correcting. For both masculine and feminine energy that's in union right now, this is that moment of getting mutual support here. Feminine energy is utilizing strong boundaries potentially and giving their strength right now towards a masculine that is potentially working on amending some issues around them right now that need to effectively be addressed, and potentially even some addressing around internal partnerships in the process. But what we like about this is for the feminine and masculine energy that are feeling these internal hurdles, even around a unified partnership right now. What's really coming through right now that is lovely is feminine is holding a lot of strength right now in terms of defending and protecting the partnership and showing the value of the partnership, while masculine energy is showing the degree, capacity, and willingness to be able to change in any way, shape, or form that is necessary to maintain and to correct any of the difficulty in the partnership at this moment. Again, very beautiful energy for the energy that is in union. For the feminine and masculine energy right now that is not in union, this is going to feel like a bit more of a challenge, right? For feminine energy right now that is not in union, feminine energy is doing a lot of this work on their own right now. Feminine energy is working, again, working through, as we identified yesterday, not going back to situations and circumstances that have caused them any degree of pain or difficulty. Places and spaces where, I don't know, maybe they didn't feel like they could be their most vulnerable, authentic expression of self without there being some kind of major detriment or harm upon themselves in the process. Feminine energy right now is working on maintaining very healthy, strong boundaries for themselves right now at this moment, while also manifesting the change and activity in their own life that they're requiring without the need of partnership. They're not leaning on any partnership energy in order to do this if they're not in partnership at this moment, because they are recognizing to a certain extent that it is better to move away from a partnership that is not showing the ability to have this type of ideal union than it is to try to effectively work through something on here. So feminine energy is being very cognizant right now. It's not the fact that the feminine energy isn't showing a degree or capacity to work through a problem with a separated partnership right now. Feminine energy needs to see some ability to change. Feminine energy is only permitting in right now a unified energy, potentially even a broken partnership, if there is some degree of visibility that there is something that can effectively change there that will allow for a degree of this becoming amended. While for the masculine energy right now, this is what we're exactly seeing right now. For masculine energy, again, you are working in two different capacities if you're not in union at this moment. You are either doing right now a lot of work to try to show a feminine energy with strong, healthy boundaries here, that you have this ability and capacity to change. Hence that mirroring effect of proving to them that this is something, this is a partnership that is still valuable, that is still valuable, that is still has this degree and capacity to be repaired at this time, but it is requiring change. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this could be a moment that you are effectively just giving this energy back to yourself at this moment with, as I said, an understanding that you are recognizing that there may have been too much damage done right now around this old partnership of a feminine that has their boundaries up because they feel like they cannot necessarily be their vulnerable, honest expression around you at this time. And this is where you are working a lot to manifest for yourself at this moment and trying to release this, having learned the lessons, and try to make better choices in the future to help you navigate as you move away. Continuing to get clarification on that between that moving away process of the Magician in combination with our Eight of Cups. So again, for the feminine and masculine energy right now, what's really beautiful about this for the energy that's in union is this is a two-sided process. This is a process of manifesting and moving away. So for masculine and feminine energy right now that's in union, there's a lot of productive work that's happening right now, not only in trying to create what you want for yourselves at this moment, shared between you both, but also with an understanding of what situations or scenarios or practices need to be effectively moved away from because they're not serving the unified whole right now. A lot of this care and attention being paid to that at this time. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in union, for both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is that point that is really proving that the situation and circumstances that are coming through right now as it relates to whether you are going to maintain or continue to move forward on partnership at this time is a point of recognition in saying, does this show an ability and capacity to change? Is change something that can happen in these situations, or is this something that needs to be walked away from? This is the dividing line right now as to where you fall on the collective. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with that Ace of Swords energy in its reversal. This is, remember what I said? It's so nice to see this card and it's upright. We're seeing this card and it's upright because there's a recognition right now of a surrender that leads to a greater point of victory. It's not the fact that this isn't bittersweet. It's not the fact that moving away from something right now isn't bittersweet, but we see here that there's a level and degree of acceptance that is easier today for both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, there is a point of understanding right now that in order to manifest what you are trying to manifest at this moment, it does require you to a certain extent to have to potentially move away from some things at this time. And hence we see this motion right now of a victory through a point of surrender, of being able to surrender something, but immediately having that gratification of a point of victory in the fact that you can see the present tangibility of what it is that you're creating as you move away from something in the process. This is what's empowering both energies right now to, again, enact either the change that is necessary and move away from certain things, or recognize that some things need to be moved away from in order for you to manifest what you're trying to manifest at this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Eight of Cups in combination with our double eights here with our Eight of Wands. A lot of movement right now. We like this though because there are cycles here. There's a process that's happening here that's very beautiful to see, because what we're seeing is happening is this is a moving away because there's productivity happening. You see the path opening ahead of you. This isn't just, and this is helping with some of the grief and the sadness that you're maybe potentially feeling around the situations that you're working through right now, because what we're really identifying is the fact that there's immediate motion. There's like immediate movement even as you proceed to move in these directions and abilities right now. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Justice card, a point of beautiful balance that's coming through right now for both masculine and feminine energy. Finding that beautiful point of balance is so important at this time right now. We see for both energies there's a lot of direction towards us at this time, and this could be feeling like a lot of balancing that's coming in, a lot of points of recognition right now in terms of what feels equal, what feels fair, what creates that sense of balance for you at this moment, even as you move forward from this point. This is what's allowing that degree of equality is what we're really seeing. For the masculine and feminine energy right now, thank you, that are in union, this is a moment that you yourself are effectively orienting right now on what is creating that sense of stability for you at this time. Masculine and feminine energy that are in union right now are recognizing that this is an ongoing effort. This is a continual work in progress. But more than importantly, again, showing for the feminine this degree to support that energy and to support the union itself, and masculine being able to make accommodations and changes in order to foster what is needed to change to create that sense of better balance going forward from this point. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in partnership right now, what we're really identifying is this is that moment that you are feeling this degree of like karmic balance coming in, allowing that point of karmic balance to basically be one that is creating a point or a feeling of release for you at this time. Because you are seeing here the difference between something that feels like it is just meant to block or hold you in a position versus the places and spaces that feel like they are productive, that they are guiding you forward, that they're allowing you to move towards manifesting what it is that you're trying to manifest for yourself at that time. This time, that beautiful chariot energy that we saw coming in the card of the day just a few days ago. So we love seeing these cards in combination right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Seven of Pentacles in combination with our Lover's card in its reversal. What's really lovely here is, again, there is a commitment right now towards what it is that you're truly trying to grow, what it is that you're trying to nurture, what it is that you're trying to support at this time, with a lot of care and attention, either in amending partnerships, putting that support into partnerships that you identify have this capacity and degree of coming into a better state of healing, or recognizing, again, the situations and circumstances that you may effectively need to let go of or release at this time so that you can put your full concentration in those supportive systems, in those places that you're seeing that ability to thrive, to grow, and the energy of those things. For feminine, this is taking a lot of an act of strength at this point as you do this. For masculine, this is putting a lot of energy into creating this for yourself at this moment, either in partnership with a feminine energy that is supportive towards this motion at this time and is equally doing this work, or potentially having to move away from a feminine energy that you recognize just has too many walls up because there's a situation that has happened where they don't feel they can be their most authentic expression of self towards you at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Hierophant in its reversal. This is requiring some unconventional approaches for both masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. What we're really seeing right now for the masculine and feminine energy right now is, again, there's a lot of care and concentration in terms of what is effectively serving your own ability to grow, to thrive, what feels like it is creating a supportive system right now. For feminine energy, this is a moment that is requiring a great degree of strength, but also feeling a point of protecting one's own self in that point of coming through and having this moment right now. What we really love with this feminine energy that we're seeing here is the fact that the feminine energy is moving through a point of weakness for their own selves right now, but they're coming through for a way to protect their own inner child energy here, but also to protect the energy of those things that they truly value and care about moving forward from this point. While for masculine energy right now, we see that there is a lot of care and orientation that is being paid right now towards what you are trying to grow at this moment. And there is this consideration that is taken right now for the masculine energy in terms of having to take some kind of unconventional approach at this time as it relates, as I said, to being able, if you are not in union right now, masculine, amending and correcting these partnerships, right? Finding a way to be able to come back towards a feminine energy that has its guard up and effectively having to make some immediate changes to show some ability to change, which is requiring you to take some unconventional approaches for yourself at this moment, but also showing a commitment to changing in that way and in that capacity and in that degree. While for the masculine energy that is potentially working right now on this for themselves at this moment, this is potentially, again, recognizing that there is a hard lesson here around an energy of a feminine that you are now not necessarily able to be in contact with, that they've put too many walls up around you at this point. And this is requiring you to put a lot of care and attention in terms of what you're trying to grow at this point, recognizing that you yourself are in a space right now where you can't necessarily move forward on this partnership because the feminine energy is no longer accessible or available to you in that degree. But what we appreciate for both masculine and feminine energy right now is there is an alignment coming in terms of what you need to grow and what unconventional approaches you need to take in order to navigate that landscape. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Lover's card in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. Again, a moment right now of orientation towards feminine and masculine energy with a point of recognition for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in union. This is a moment that you are identifying what needs to be amended or corrected right now in your own partnership. And it is resulting in some feeling of surrender, of letting go of things that aren't necessarily serving you, allowing some of this beautiful change energy to occur in the relationship itself that is requiring also this point of surrender in the process. For feminine energy, this could be making you feel a little bit more vulnerable, especially with that star energy here. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this is a moment of, again, recognizing and putting a lot of care and orientation right now in the partnerships that are around you at this time to really ask yourself, is there ability to have these come into a place of easement? Is there a way for these to be fixed? But also, again, surrendering and accepting the reality of that situation, accepting whether these do show some degree and capacity of being able to change, to have that change energy here, or if these just effectively need to be shed. And that would be that letting go process that we are seeing here. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, look who's decided to show up. We've got our card of the day back today. We've got our 10 of Swords in its reversal. So again, a moment right now that feels like a bit of a rebirth. What we're seeing here, what's very lovely, is we're seeing this active ending and rebirth cycle happening simultaneously, right? Especially with this idea of a surrender that leads to a greater point of victory, of a point of correction that allows for something to come through. There is an ending here that is bringing with it a new beginning. We've got that new beginning energy coming right on the heels of the separation or ending. For the masculine and feminine energy that is in union right now, this is some of that change energy that we're recognizing, that adjustment period, that point of correction that is allowing some things to end only so that new ones can begin. The identification of the healthy change happening in the partnership to allow for greater easement and alignment going forward. While for the energies that are not in union right now, thank you so much for the gift, what we're really identifying is happening right now is there is a point of acceptance that you are reaching. For the masculine and energy that is working right now to get back in union with feminine energy, there is this moment that we're potentially seeing that is requiring this point of surrender. This change is requiring a point of surrender, but there's a new growth there's like an immediate rebirth on top of it. It's that recognition of understanding that if you are able to surrender in this way, you are able to make these adjustments and changes, it opens the door back to the partnership being available and accessible to you again. Hence the feminine energy putting their own guard down, putting down some of these swords. While for the masculine energy right now that is working through this, this is a moment that you're effectively potentially releasing the possibility of this partnership and just trying to rebuild your own self at this moment. Thank you so much for the gift. For feminine energy, this is entirely, for the feminine energy not in union right now, this is entirely energy that you're giving yourself. This is that rebirth cycle. Feminine energy is ready to shed a lot of the pain, like difficult situations from the past. Recognizing that, again, they put them in a space where they feel like they've built some very healthy boundaries, but they're ready to grow, move forward. They're ready to commit towards what they're trying to commit to right now, but only with energy that they feel is going to allow them to be able to be their most authentic expression of self. And this is that moment for feminine that, again, that surrender is accessible right now because there's a rebirth immediately on the heels of it. There's a rebirth happening actively as the point of surrender is reached. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, clarification occurring right now between this Ace of Swords in its reversal and the Justice card. So some very beautiful energy here, very powerful energy, because what we're really seeing is there is this moment right now of coming into better alignment, finding that point that feels balanced, that feels stable, but recognizing that there needs to be something that is effectively changed or shed or released in order to build that sense of better balance at this time. This is that feeling of, again, coming through with a point of release that immediately brings with it a sense of victory. But we like this because this release is also creating internal balance. This is either internal balance that you yourself are experiencing. You're feeling this point of balance right now that is finally effectively allowing you to release some emotionality or feelings or things from the past that have been acting as blockers for you going forward. Or this is very tangible release right now, removing anything that you feel is creating any point of imbalance for you right now so that you can move into a space of better balance going forward. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we love this. We've got our 5 of Cups in its reversal. What's happening here that's so beautiful is the fact that what we're really identifying is happening at this moment is this point of release is one that you're doing with a sense of optimism. The release moment is being able to release the grief around situations or circumstances from the past, of allowing this to be a moment that you're keeping that optimistic outlook. You are effectively releasing the grief and putting your gaze towards the future, towards what lies ahead of you, as opposed to any circumstances or situations that have effectively been blocking you. And this is why, because you're recognizing that that grief is the blocker. The grief, the sadness that you've been holding is effectively the blocker. And being able to move into this optimistic moment right now is what is effectively allowing you to get that better sense of balance at this time. But it's requiring the release of the grief for both masculine and feminine energy as you proceed forward from this point. For the energy that is in union right now, this is a point of giving each other confidence, of building this sense of confidence, of helping you find that feeling of opportunity even as you're doing some of this work. Helping that energy that is aligned with you to feel optimistic, to create that sense of better balance. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union, for feminine energy, this is again, feminine energy is releasing any place or space where they felt they couldn't be their most vulnerable, authentic expression of self. The release process is feminine, letting go of the grief of that and recognizing those situations for what they are. Situations that didn't allow the feminine to be their most authentic expression of self. Releasing that and accepting that is what's allowing the feminine energy to move forward from this point. Because why? Because feminine is not holding that as a personal issue. Feminine is recognizing that there's no need to regret those situations or circumstances, because feminine energy realizes that there's nothing that was effectively their fault in those situations and circumstances. They were just situations and circumstances that were showing them that they could not accept the authentic, vulnerable aspect of the feminine. And that's where the feminine energy is changing their perspective, which we have been seeing over the last few days. Hence the release process that is coming into a space of better balance. Masculine energy right now that is not in union, if you have been working to try to get in communication back towards this feminine that has this guard up, this is where you're trying to do. This is that change that we're seeing that you need to come through with. Because what we're really seeing for the masculine energy is there is a point of surrender. There is a point of surrender that you also need to release right now as you work to make these changes for yourself going forward. And what is that point of surrender? You need to let go of the past. There's something here with the feminine energy. If the masculine energy is trying to create balance right now, if the masculine energy is trying to create balance right now, coming towards this feminine that has their guard up, it has to be a mutual expression of change while also making a expression and concession of accepting that they cannot bring the past back up in a way that would feel damaging or in a way that would feel like it's a cause of trying to create grief or difficulty. This is basically the terms of agreement that the masculine energy is effectively having to come forward with at this point to show the feminine energy that change can occur. While for the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is that moment that you're releasing any of that old partnership energy, recognizing that that energy is no longer accessible to you because they don't feel like they can be in a place of true authenticity at this moment, but you are allowing this to be a point of creating balance. You are releasing this at this time. You are keeping your own sense of optimism forward at this time, even as you go through a point of release, all for the effort of creating better balance for yourself at this moment. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hierophant in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Swords in its reversal, our card of the day for today. So again, What we love about this right now is there is this rebirth process that is currently happening right now. It's activating. You are shedding, something is ending as something is immediately beginning around you right now. And it is something unconventional. It is requiring you to take unconventional approaches. For feminine energy, a lot of this, like keeping the healthy boundaries, is the unconventional approach. Because while you are feeling this moment, that you are feeling this point of anxiety and vulnerability, you're not letting yourself act from it. You're not letting yourself act from it. You're not letting yourself move from a place of anxiety, of doubt and fear at a moment that you're feeling fear. Instead, you're moving with a lot of strength and conviction and intentionality. Allowing that to drive your choices and purposes is the unconventional approach feminine is taking right now, which is allowing a lot of this rebirth energy to occur right now. For masculine energy right now, you are also taking some unconventional approaches at this time, potentially in union with the feminine energy that shows this degree and capacity of building this level of strength, even through points of adversity at this moment, that is allowing for this change, adjustment period, potentially even in the partnership. Things are changing, but new things are beginning on the time at the same exact time. This is an active process that you're working with right now in union with a very strong feminine energy that is also showing some vulnerability at this moment, but is still lending support towards the work that you're doing at this time, helping you manifest this reality into being. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, this is that moment that you yourself are feeling a great disease, like you're either falling on one or two sides of this for the masculine energy right now. Either, again, this is that point of concession of potentially coming back into a union or working through some difficulties in a partnership with a feminine energy that is at a distance from you, holding up healthy boundaries, but you are making this commitment. You're making this commitment to change. You're making this commitment to allowing yourself an unconventional approach to be able to make the changes in your own behavior to allow the feminine energy to feel more vulnerable and open to you at this time. Hence that rebirth process that's currently actively happening. But it's a bit difficult because it's requiring you to do some things differently than you ever have done them before. While for the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is a cycle that you're having internally from yourself. That there's something here where you may not be feeling that your own ability to change in this degree towards the feminine energy that has these walls up towards you at this time. This is effectively you basically saying that you're allowing this rebirth process for yourself at this moment, that you are building this ability to change within yourself, having learned the lessons from that feminine energy that now has those walls up, that isn't giving you access, that isn't allowing you back in towards their point of vulnerability. And it's requiring you also at this time to kind of break away from that energy as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with more 10 card energy. We love this. What do we love about this here with our 10 of Wands in its reversal? There's a question right now that's coming into play about what is feeling easy. What is the path that is opening to you right now versus the path that's requiring you to kind of carry or do all of the heavy lifting, if you will. For masculine and feminine energy right now, what we really appreciate if you are in union right now, that this is a moment that you are mutually sharing. That one of the reasons you're allowing so much of this beautiful change to happen right now, even in the partnership itself, is not only the fact that you're both recognizing that there is a need to allow for some adjustments, some things ending, new things beginning, but you are lightening each other's burdens in the process of that experience. You're doing everything you can to lighten one another's load. And that is what is effectively allowing you to even take some unconventional approaches at this time to work through situations and circumstances that are requiring this degree of change, because it's recognizing that even through a point of adversity, the other person is doing everything they can to ease the burden that you yourself are experiencing, hence building that divine union energy. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this is a bit different. Feminine energy is moving right now with a point of recognizing their own power, wanting to be in places and spaces that they're able to be their most authentic expression of self. But also, again, thank you for the gift, with a commitment and desire. Feminine energy is effectively abolishing any commitments that go beyond their own self and their own boundaries at this time. is what we're really seeing here. Feminine energy is recommitting. If you're not in partnership right now, feminine energy is committing to their own boundaries, even in a moment that they feel like some of those boundaries have been challenged or tested to a certain extent, and they are feeling vulnerable. But what we love about this feminine energy that we see here is this is feminine energy that is not collapsing under the weight of that pressure. She's doubling down in terms of maintaining her healthy boundaries as she tries to create what she is trying to create for herself at this moment. And feminine energy is in a moment right now where they're ready to move away from anything that feels like it is making it too difficult. And they're allowing that to be an immediate cycle of rebirth. They're not letting themselves get caught in any feelings of grief or doubt or fear in it. They're immediately just allowing it to be a rebirth energy, because they're saying to themselves, this is becoming too much of a burden. This is becoming too difficult. This is becoming too much. If feminine energy feels like they have to do the heavy lifting at this time, that's the approach the feminine energy is basically walking away from and saying, I shouldn't have to do all of this on my own. This shouldn't all be on my back. It shouldn't all be my effort and my energy to have to do this. And feminine energy is putting a lot of critical energy and recognition into what feels like it is too difficult and shedding that, all for the stake that they see that there's possibilities and opportunities available to them right now that don't require that level or degree. Feminine's being like, things should not be made this difficult for me. And that's what's allowing the energy to come into a space of rebirth. While for masculine energy right now, if you are currently working right now and not in union with the feminine energy, this is effectively what we are seeing that you are trying to show the feminine energy at this time. Again, if you're trying to move back towards a feminine energy that has these boundaries up, that has these walls up at this time, you are trying to work very hard in terms of, again, making these accommodations, showing this ability to do things differently. And again, what is some of that ability to do things differently is taking and accepting and allowing things to become easier between you and the feminine energy, all for the effort of allowing for this rebirth process to come into play, finding a way or opportunity to allow this not only to come back into focus, but also to make it easier as you proceed forward from this point. And it does feel for the masculine energy like there is this process. And I think that's what's really interesting right now. I need to point this out. For the masculine energy that is trying to come back in union with this feminine energy that has this like burden, like has this like wall up towards you, there is this moment that you're allowing for this change to occur, because you're basically identifying that the wall itself is too difficult to bear, that it is easier to make the change than to continue in a point of separation, that the change is inevitable, if you will. The change is something that you are willing at this point to allow yourself to surrender to and to make these accommodations, because you have identified that the deeper issue is not the change itself, but having to stay away from this effective this energy. That's what's allowing this point of easement. You're accepting the point that you're willing to make these changes because it is easier than continuing to bear the point of separation. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, the other side of this is a moment where your attempts to come back into a union with the feminine energy that has these walls, that has this block up to you because they don't feel they can be their most authentic expression of self towards you at this time. This is that moment that you're allowing that burden to be released, because you're effectively deciding that it is not something that you have the capability or ability to effectively change, that you're coming into a point of acceptance in terms of recognizing that you yourself don't have the capability of being able to make those changes right now. And hence that is what's allowing you to also have this rebirth process in the midst of this, by shedding this possibility of union, by shedding this degree of coming into contact, into connection with the feminine energy. So the major side for the masculine energy right now is really about whether the masculine energy is able and capable to make these changes at this time, or whether this is something that they're going to continue to move forward on for themselves at this moment, unwilling to be or unable to make these changes. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our 10 of Swords in its reversal in combination with our 5 of Cups in its reversal. So again, this beautiful energy that we're seeing coming into play today of rebirth, endings happening right on top of new beginnings, that is creating this sense of positivity and promise that is helping you shed some of the pain from the past as you move forward into the opportunities that are awaiting you on the other side of that perspective shift. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. We love it. Here comes that abandonment wound card coming up to the surface again, but we like it because it's in its reversal. This is how we are healing the abandonment wound for both masculine and feminine energy. Not letting yourself get caught in the lack mentality, not letting yourself hold on to the grief, not letting yourself hold on to the loss, but changing your perspective towards the opportunities, the promise, the places that are actually showing the capability of changing, of growth, of opportunity, of success, moving forward. Helping yourself move through that mourning period is what's allowing you to immediately go through a point of endings and new beginnings on top of it, because it is also work to heal the abandonment wound. Because what we're really seeing here is there has been an abandonment wound that was triggered. We talked about it yesterday. Feminine energy. What was feminine energy needing to do to push through the abandonment wound? Feminine energy had to hold their boundaries, right? Not let that trigger that made them feel vulnerable or unhealthily vulnerable make them go into a space of activity that was not based on their intentionality. Masculine had to come into emotional balance, which brought them into their magician energy, being able to manifest what they are desiring at this point by coming into honesty about their feelings at this time. This is what's allowing both masculine and feminine energy to work on this abandonment wound at this moment, depending on how they move. For feminine, it's holding the boundaries. For masculine, it is following your emotional heart at this time and allowing those emotions to guide you in this moment in the direction that you are ultimately desiring to go at this time. Continuing to get clarity between this beautiful 10 of Wands energy in its reversal, in combination with our 5 of Pentacles. You know what we like to see about this? We like to see these cards in combination because what we're really seeing is this is not the first time that this abandonment wound has been triggered recently. What we're really seeing is one of the reasons that this is feeling like it is becoming easier to navigate is because it's becoming easier to handle. It's becoming easier to handle the abandonment wound. It is the observation of the wound. It is understanding what you need to do when the wound is triggered that is allowing it to get, not only, it's not the fact that the abandonment wound's here, but there's a sense of it getting easier to navigate as it arises that we love to see as we reach the conclusion with our final card for today's spread for today. King of Wands in its reversal. So what are we seeing here? This is that moment of orientation that we are seeing, and it is going to feel different for feminine and masculine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, what we're really identifying is a moment. This is where feminine energy is like, it's getting it easier. Why is it getting easier? Because feminine energy is, what is feminine energy holding the healthy boundary towards, my friends? Feminine energy is holding the healthy boundary towards masculine energy that feels like it's only serving their own purposes and their own devices. It's getting easier for the feminine energy to navigate and to observe and to see situations and circumstances around masculine energy that is not necessarily thinking on a unified approach, but is only serving their own purposes, their own devices, not necessarily moving back towards that type of energy, is what is allowing the feminine energy to heal. And not only is the feminine energy healing from that, but it's becoming easier to recognize it. It's becoming easier to recognize when someone utilizes or tries to utilize the abandonment wound towards the feminine energy to get them to act or behave in a way that they would ideally desire them to behave. Feminine energy is like just seeing it now. The minute she sees it, feminine's going, no thanks, I'm good. You keep that over there. I'll be over here. We're fine. Feminine energy is like, I'm going to hold my boundaries. It's cool. Masculine energy. And for masculine energy right now, this is a moment that you yourself are working through some of your own issues, some of your own circumstances. Now, for the masculine energy right now, that is in union with feminine energy. This is potentially even working right now in terms of looking towards the energy around you right now and looking at what feels like it is working in harmony with you and that energy versus what does not feel like it is working in harmony with you. What feels like it is serving their own energy. What is feeling like it's serving their own devices. And what's really interesting about the masculine energy in union right now is you are healing your own abandonment wound through. And this is what's really beautiful about this, because we're seeing here the emotional connection of the feminine and masculine. How is masculine energy coming into power right now with the abandonment wound happening? Seeing a very strong feminine energy that is also very vulnerable. Masculine energy is healing some of this abandonment wound by potentially even having to see, having to witness how the unhealed abandonment wound in the masculine energy often impacts and affects the feminine energy. They are working in solidarity with the feminine energy that they are in union with to make things easier as they both navigate this terrain together. Okay? While for the masculine energy and feminine energy that is not in union, this is going to be more of a challenge. As I said, the feminine energy right now that's working through this is, again, very committed to holding healthy boundaries, even in the face of energy that feels like it's trying to serve their own purposes. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, this is a moment of personal observation that is requiring you to help heal your abandonment wound, right? Because what we're really identifying is for half of the masculine collective right now, this is a point that you are either working right now towards a feminine energy that feels like they have some boundaries up, but you can see why they have the boundary up. You can identify that boundary is up. Why is that boundary up? Because in some situation, either one that resulted from an experience with you or from a past experience, they are operating in a space of having heavy boundaries. That is you effectively, again, working to affect change for yourself at this moment to help show this feminine energy that you are not in a space of only serving your own purposes and your own devices, while also healing that within yourself in the process, because it is challenging your own ability and degree to be open, to be vulnerable, to be honest. This is work that you're doing on the internal self right now to be able to find this point of articulation through what you communicate, through your ability to communicate honestly at this moment. While for the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is potentially you having to work through a lot of this internally right now, releasing something that is requiring you to effectively change, having to recognize that there's something that you feel is cut off to a certain degree, having to heal, and why was it potentially cut off? What was the lesson that potentially had to be learned? There is a worry or concern right now around that energy. The reason that wall is up is because that energy felt to a certain extent that you are potentially moving only in direction of your own passion, only in direction of your own desires. And this is that point that even for the masculine energy that is shedding that experience right now, that is moving away from it, this is a point that is leading you into a deeper investigation of the self to ask yourself, what do I need to change going forward so that I do not come across that way, so that I do not seem to only be moving from my own desires and my own drives going forward. So for all energies right now, we're seeing some very beautiful healing that's occurring as you proceed forward from this point, but it requires a lot of internal investigation. Bottom of the deck for today's reading today is, I'm very interested in seeing what this bottom of the deck is, because this is a heavy reading. Different choices lead to different results. Different choices lead to different results. That's what we're really seeing here. And this is hard because the problem with different choices is that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. You haven't done these things before. Masculine energy that is working on changing right now. This is a point where you are observing that you haven't done things in this way before, and it is difficult. And even for all of the masculine energy, what we see over the masculine energy, 222 in the room, there's a point of change that's happening. You're either doing it in union or you're doing it alone. But it's from your connection with the feminine energy and recognizing, either observing things the feminine energy is experiencing right now that's helping you make modification points, or having been blocked or cut off to a certain extent from your own behaviors around the feminine energy that has created some of these walls to come up. It's difficult because it is a point that you're being asked or called upon to make a different choice. And it's hard because it is choices that you haven't necessarily made before. And so not being completely certain about what will happen if you make different choices right now. For feminine energy, it's a similar feeling. You are making different energy. Feminine energy is moving from a place of deep intentionality, not letting their vulnerability guide them in the direction of chasing after an abandonment wound, but holding to their own sense of empowerment at this moment that also feels like a bit of a sea change. But there's a point of recognition for the feminine too, of some points of anxiety, because we see here the desire or drive to return to those coping mechanisms is very much there. Feminine is obviously taking this new route or approach for themselves, even as they're not sure about what's on the other side of it. So for all energies right now, whether they're in union and they're taking these new approaches or they're doing it individually, this is that big moment that feels like a little bit of uncertainty, because it's moving away from the recognized, it's moving away from the predictable into areas that you don't necessarily know what to expect going forward. That is our daily collective read for the day. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of a recording sent to you afterwards. And if you were a subscriber, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a reading on my site, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never inbox you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very special message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in this reading. And we will do this again tomorrow.